Now, what our strategy is when it comes to property investing, we're looking for three things that we are targeting when we're looking for an investment property for our clients. Now, there's three things that we're looking at. We're looking at positive cash flow, we're looking at capital growth, and we're looking at value add. Now, these three key fundamentals are super important when we're looking for an investment property, because these three fundamentals is like insurance, I call it. And what I mean by that is when we're looking for an investment property, we're targeting something cash flow positive from the very beginning. And why we're targeting that is because we got to factor in, if you're looking just short term and you're looking at the economy right now, okay, it might be all good and all, and interest rates might be at the lowest it's ever been, but how do we know if those interest rates aren't going to rise in the next year or two or three? So when we're applying something cash flow positive, we're making sure that the property is going to put money in your pocket, a quite large sum from the first day dot. So then, if ever something happens down the track where interest rates rise, your property is still going to be cash flow positive, if not neutral. And it's not going to affect your lifestyle. So this is something that we've got to keep in mind and educate ourselves and not say, we can just look short term, which is all good, but what about long term? Because property is a long term game, it's not a short term game. Now, when people think we get cash flow positive properties, we can't get capital growth. It's a misconception. We're targeting properties out there with capital growth in high growth areas, locations, and you'll watch videos more about how we identify these locations and movement of people and why people are going there, which is causing property prices to rise significantly. So when we're chasing capital growth, there's two types of, you get your natural appreciation over time, the economy is going and growing as it's escalating and as the years go on, and as well there's forced appreciation, so stuff like buying under market value from the very beginning as well, which is going to help you release equity from the very beginning, and then you can use that equity to go out and purchase more property. Now, you can have best of both worlds here. There's some of the greatest markets in Australia have been cash flow positive properties, and they've performed absolutely amazing and with high growth locations that have grown 40% in a year. So people think you can only have one or the other. It's a misconception. You can have both. This comes down to fundamentals, and what we look at is something that we target significantly for our clients, because that's how you make your wealth in property, not through cash flow, but through capital growth, through equity. Now, the last thing we're touching on is value add. Now, this is like insurance, I'll call it as well. And why I call that is because if we purchase something that is a little bit rugged, it's the ugly duckling syndrome. It's not the best property in the street, but the other properties in the street are worth a lot more than what we're purchased it at. That gives you the opportunity to do a renovation. Force appreciation, I call that. So that you're forcing a renovation to uplift the property. Now, it's a great way. If we purchase something under market value from the beginning and then we force appreciation in it as well, it gives you a great chance to uplift your property a significant amount, release the equity, and instead of using your own funds to put down for the next deposit, you can use that equity to go again. Now, we don't just target renovation properties, we target properties that are on a good sized block. So if we want to add a granny flat, if we want to do a subdivision, if we want to do a development in the future, we're looking at zonings and where the property is situated. That's something that we're targeting for our clients. Now, we don't suggest going out there doing a development at the beginning, but of course, if we purchase something and say, 5 to 10 years from now, we got the opportunity to develop and you've already got a significant large portfolio, this is going to give you the opportunity to do that strategy. Adding a granny flat is a great way to increase your cash flow. Getting something built at the back of a block and then increasing your cash flow significantly amount is going to help you with your borrowing capacity, and not just that, it's increasing the value of the property. Subdivision. We've purchased property before on a 1,000 square meter block. Property is situated at the very front, and we've subdivided the back of the block, and we've done for 50-50. And what we've done, we sold the back of the block, we got extra cash flow, and we just put a fence there. So once the other purchaser purchased that subdivision, we kept our block with the house on there. We used those funds, and we could use that to go purchase another property. So it's a great way to quickly make a quick transaction for a client that doesn't have much cash flow at the moment. So these three fundamentals is going to help you build a property portfolio that is successful, that will put money in your pocket from day dot, and is not going to affect your lifestyle from the very beginning. And not just that, I look at it like insurance, like I said before. If something happens to the economy, your property's cash flow positive, you got the value, you got the chance to add a renovation to it, to increase the value of the property, to increase the cash flow as well, increase the rent when you're doing something like that. So these things help you in a downward market as well. So we're not just looking where the roses are at the moment. The economy's blooming. Places are booming everywhere in Australia. We got to look long term. And that's why you minimize your risk as a property investor, and that's what it's all about. The less risk you have, the more you can be successful when building a property portfolio, because you're not going to have those ups and downs, those peaks and troughs significantly like a lot of people that look short term. We want to minimize that. So that's something that we target here, and hopefully you can understand what the benefits and the point why we use this. It's because of, like I call it, insurance, to help our clients to build up something that's sustainable and won't affect their lifestyle.